Hello, Dobry din. My name is Leander Branson with Osiraidak Ukrainian Cultural Center, located on Treaty 1 territory. Today, I'm joined by photographer Alexander Kulchynsky. Kulchynsky's works document the Slaw Rebchuk and Salter Street Bridge projects from 1983 to 1984. So first off, how are you feeling today, Alexander?
Well, I'm just fine. It's nice to be here.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. So what drew you to the Salter Street Bridge as sort of a basis for your works and your photographs?
Well, there was a City of Winnipeg sign posted on Flora Avenue and Salter Street, mentioning that there was going to be a project, replacing the bridge. And I got interested in taking some pictures of the bridge when it's still there.
Yeah, and like, how did you find like the construction, how it progressed over the course of the year while you photographed it?
Well, things were changing rapidly every day. There was always something new happening, and all over the place, both sides of the bridge had activity. The CPR tracks had activity. And so you wouldn't be able to get everything, but for the time that you're there, you capture what you can. And the next day you come back and continue.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting that you're basically capturing a moment in time. Like, it's absolutely fabulous. And did you find like that there was anything that you missed out on and you just went, oh, darn, sort of got to the area a little bit too late? Or
well, there was a few things that I would have liked to capture on film that when I got around to those areas, they were gone. Basically, some of the old housing that was there would be some of it. At one time, it was getting late, sun was going down. I was ready to go home and I was going to, excuse me, take some pictures of the, excuse me, Salter's, this Henry's grocery store.
Yeah.
I managed to take some pictures and figuring I'd be come back the next day. When I came back the next day, there was nothing but a pile of rubble and the store was gone. And so was the images that I wanted to capture.
It's like that fleeting moment, basically, where you see something, you photograph it.
Yeah. I wanted to continue on, but the thing is, you don't know when things are going to disappear on you. Because I used to pass that grocery store a few times, doing things and figure out that's going to be one of the last things to go. And I was wrong.
Yeah, and it's sort of looking at the mundane and the things that you take for granted, and then when they're experiencing sort of this quick period of change, and then they're gone and they left you, and you don't really realize how much you've taken it for granted until it's just out there and it's a pile of brickwork.
That was a wonderful subject matter to take photographs of it. It was a store from back in the 50s, I'm sure, very decorative front, and never got a chance to go inside to have a look. Would have been something that I would have liked to have done.
Yeah.
It was closed at the time when I was around, so I would just be able to take pictures from the outside through the window to see what's there. So if I was there during the demolition, I would have had a chance to see a little bit more of the interior, I'm sure.
And you sort of get to like idealize what could have been in there, but you don't necessarily get to explore that small part of the community. And sort of this idea of like cornerstones, because everyone recognizes the Slaw Rebchuk Bridge, everyone recognizes the Salter Street Bridge and those projects and sort of sees them. And I think it's really wonderful, like this familiarity that you've captured. You've captured sort of home for a lot of folks.
Well, I was there at a time when a lot of vacancies were there. Houses were boarded up. There were still some people living in the area. And I'm sure they knew they were on the way out because the construction that was supposed to be happening in the area, so they vacated. But I'm just glad that I was there at that time.
And just moving on, sort of, what is the exhibition about at its core? Sort of, what ideals did you want to sort of capture in those images?
Well, it was a photo documentary of daily activity in 1983 and 84 of changes being done to the Salter Street Bridge and the neighborhood. And that's what I wanted to capture, the way it looked when I started on May of 1983 and continue on a daily basis throughout the project.
And sort of what moments on that note really capture your attention when taking images? Like, do you see people and you absolutely jump for them, or are you looking more at the architectural aspect?
Well, everything captured my attention, and there was all kinds of activity going on. And something that I saw was interesting in a window of a house on Laura Street. It had a sign saying, beware of dog, and there was a cat in the window grooming itself. I thought that was kind of interesting. I got a picture of it, of course.
It's a very angry cat, right?
Well, no, he just was oblivious to whatever's going on. I'm sure they had a dog. Maybe they didn't, but it makes an interesting shot.
Yeah. And like, I guess any funny stories about your work that sort of jump out at you? I know we talked earlier about the photo bomber, but also more people like that, those candid moments.
Well, there was one youngster. He was going to be passing through past me, and I was in the shade of the bridge. City Hydro was removing some telephone poles. It was a hot day, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to get a picture of this youngster in the neighborhood. And so I framed my shot, and when he walked into it, he gave out this expression that was kind of comical, like "Look at me." And it was spontaneous on his part, and just because the camera was looking at him, he just decided to get involved with the photograph. It worked out good.
Play around with it, eh?
It worked out great. I really liked it. Yeah. And then he moved on his merry way.
And just went about his day, and he's like, didn't even realize probably that, so many years later he'd be publicized in an exhibition.
No, exactly. I wanted to get pictures of people that were in the area, whether they lived there or passing through, that later on in life, if they ever saw any of these photographs, they would recognize themselves. That's like almost 35 years ago. So any youngster back then is going to be a grown-up, you see. So I'd be interested to see if anybody shows up to see some of those pictures and recognizes themselves.
Yeah, and you get like this wonderful look into that nostalgia. Like you're able to tap into that and really bring it out in people, because they go, oh, I remember that street. I remember walking down here on this day. And then it's like, oh, this is from that day. This is from when I was right there in the moment. Or I remember this grocery store that I walked past and I would go into every night and pick up, food for my family. And for vacant homes as well, folks who used to live in those spaces. And you're really just like capturing that nostalgia and redistributing it. I think it's absolutely
well, I wanted to preserve what I could, what was there. Once it's gone, it's gone. And, I'm sure people do have an attachment to the area, and they'll get an opportunity to see some of the photographs that I have, because I have a whole bunch more. This is just a fragment of what's going on. And it's there for them to reminisce about.
Yeah, and look over, and like it just stirs up these feelings of familiarity, of like home with people. And so like, I guess, how do you feel about the community that forms in that area and how those communal bonds come to be? Do you feel like you were, for that moment and when you were a part of this project, in that community and sort of had your finger on the pulse? Or was it more like you were an observer? Well,
I was an observer most of the time. People got used to seeing me after a while because I was there daily.
Yeah.
I talked to a few people, taking some pictures of some youngsters, and they were curious about what I was doing. And, and I explained to them that I'm taking some photographs, and, would you like your picture taken, and they complied, and everybody complied. Yeah, they were good about it.
They're just like, hey, what's up? It's me.
Yeah, they were terrific. The kids were really nice.
I was thinking about it the other day, where 100 years ago, Winnipeg existed in no way like it did today. 100 years ago, we did not have, like, say, the big MTS center or buildings like that that are very modern and new. Even 100 years ago, we didn't even have a city hall, did we?
No, it's a very young city. You know,
so you go back 100 years and you don't realize like how shortly we've sort of existed here and how little or how much we've done over the course of 100 years. It's crazy. And so like this is an aspect of that, but it's
there's a little capsule of time there. And like it's a year, but you captured so much material, and you think about like, oh, 100 years isn't much, a year isn't much, a day isn't much, but in reality it's thousands upon millions upon trillions little moments that are just like going forward and they're gone. There was such a lot to do there if you would have started like a year before.
We live in like a space that is so big and so vibrant and so beautiful, and the fact that that is so lost on many of us is, I think it's a travesty. And so like, yeah, the fact that you have lots of images sort of on the backlog and that you keep doing it and continually do it, I think there's something to be said about how addictive it is to sort of materialize.
Well,
experience.
I knew that if I came back to the same spot, took a picture from that angle, things were going to be different from the week before. And like that's why I said when it's always a before and after, it just kept repeating itself. You see?
Going back and back and back and back.
Then you can see from what it looked like to the final product, everything in between. I found it to be fascinating.
Well, and I think on that note, it was lovely speaking with you, and thank you for your time. If you want to see more of Alexander's works, they will be available for viewing at Oso Rebchuk at 184 Alexander Avenue East from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. from August 5th till October 31st. Thank you again, and bye-bye.